In September, the president said he was going to return the 60 billion that was swept from the PhilHealth quote unquote excess funds.
Right, so let's talk the budget now.
Okay, yeah. So how do you plan to do that? Because you were earlier quoted in prior reports saying that there is a process to getting it, but there's also a process to returning. As far as we know, the 60 billion hasn't been brought back in, and the Supreme Court ordered that it has to be brought back in through the 2026 GAA. Kindly explain, Congressman, how.
Well, yeah,
the
Sean,
process
we
goes.
already made, we already actually restored the 60 billion pesos to PhilHealth prior to the release of the decision of the Supreme Court. Before we actually approved the HGAP, the House version for the appropriations bill, we already restored the 60 billion pesos to PhilHealth. So even prior to this decision, meron na po na naibalik naman po upon the directive request of the president that the 60 billion that was slashed in 2025 budget for the 2026 it has to be given back again to PhilHealth, because we understand this is tama nga. This is actually sourced out from the sin taxes, excess taxes imposed on tobacco, alcohol, etc. That would be used purposely for the implementation of the Universal Health Coverage Act. So that's what we did even prior to decision of the Supreme Court. Naibalik na po yan sa HCAP na ngayon.
Congressman, I think the bigger question is how was that restoration funded? Where did that money come from?
Well, it came from the 255 billion pesos initially earmarked for public works, no? Tinanggalan po ng lang yung flood control, etc. And most of these funds are coming from the earmarked identified flood control programs for 2026. They were all taken aback, and then ginawa po natin, and upon the recommendation, of course, of the and request of each agencies, we have appropriated enough funding for their implementation of the ongoing programs, and one of which is actually the 60 billion pesos for PhilHealth. Actually, this is a subsidy, no? Kasi 53 billion ang nandoon sa original na national expenditure program that was submitted to us. So when the 255 billion pesos was already available for redistributing this to other agencies, we have earmarked 60 billion of that to compensate for the 60 billion pesos that was left taken out from the 2025 for 2026 budget appropriations.
What you're referring to, Congressman Zia, is because when Secretary Vince Dizon stepped in as DPWH Secretary, he studied the budget and he slashed the 255 off,
yes.
right? So it came from that. But is that proper?
Yes, that's because it has not been approved yet by the House, and the House has the proper, has the mandate to realign some of the, not realign, but to increase increased budget items in the proposed GAA. That's why we hold the budget hearing in order to learn from the agencies themselves kung asaan yung mga ongoing na mga programs, asaan yung kulang ng pondo, asaan yung mga continuing appropriations. And by the way, the 255 is not just the flood control programs. These are also programs that have duplication. Kaya nga nagkaroon tayo ng, even the President also advised and directed the Secretary Vince Dizon to reassess again and review the budget so that we can finally talk with the PWH regarding the proposed budget. Because when Vince Dizon came into the picture, when he sat appointed as the Secretary of DPWH, he told us that he cannot defend the budget for DPWH because that was not his budget, meaning he wasn't there yet in the DPWH when the budget proposal was being discussed.